Afternoon, we are beginning with breaking news. Nampa police are about to hold a news conference about an officer-involved shooting in the city today. They've told us that they will call a conference straight up at 4 o'clock, which it is right now. As we await for them to come to the podium, we'll bring you up to speed on what we know right now. Officers say that they responded to reports of some kind of stabbing this morning on Edgebrook Drive. You are looking at video on the right side of your screen of that area. You can see the police tape. You can see the investigators on scene. Now, when they did arrive on scene, police say that shots were fired by at least one officer. It looks like they're ready to go. Let's go ahead and listen in as they fill us in.
Okay, thank you all for being here today. My name is Joe Huff. I'm the Nampa Police Chief. With me today is Ellie Somoza from the Canyon County Prosecutor's Office, Sheriff Kieran Donahue, and Mayor Debbie Kling for the City of Nampa. I'm just going to read a brief statement for the Nampa Police Department, turn it over to Mayor Kling for a few statements, and then we'll turn it over to Sheriff Donahue. So on March 27, 2018, at approximately 8:06 a.m., Nampa Police Department received multiple 911 calls reporting a disturbance in the 7500 block of Edgebrook Drive in Nampa. The information reported was that there was a disturbance at this location involving a stabbing. Nampa police officers were immediately dispatched to the residence. 2 Nampa police officers arrived on scene, and within a brief period of time, a report of shots fired was relayed to our dispatch center. Additional Nampa officers, along with the Nampa Fire Department and Canyon County paramedics, were also responding to the scene. Several injured people were located at the scene, both inside and outside of the residence, and were transported to area hospitals. No first responders were injured. While this investigation is being conducted, the 2 Nampa police officers have been put on administrative leave. As is standard protocol when deadly force is used, the Canyon County Critical Incident Task Force, or the CITF, was activated. The Canyon County Sheriff's Office is the lead agency overseeing this investigation. And before I conclude my statement, I would like to mention that situations like the one that occurred earlier today are difficult for everyone involved. Our thoughts are with the victims of this brutal attack and also with their friends and family during this challenging time. I'm extremely proud of how the Nampa Police Department handled this call, from the dispatchers who took the initial calls to the officers, detectives, and crime scene investigators. I assure you that the Nampa Police Department has a great team who works hard each and every day to ensure the safety of this community. I would also like to thank the Nampa Fire Department and the Canyon County paramedics for their quick response and professional conduct in a very chaotic and complicated crime scene. I fully believe that their actions, along with those of responding officers today, saved lives. At that point, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Debbie Kling.
We are all saddened by the tragic loss of life which our community experienced today. On behalf of our city, allow me to express our condolences to the families who lost loved ones and to those who are critically injured. We are very thankful for the women and men of the Nampa Police Department and our first responders who arrived quickly at the scene. Their quick response and brave actions were critical in preventing any further loss. As with any serious incidents of this nature, there may be standard investigations that further examine the actions of all those involved, and the police included. We fully support our police department during this process. As I conclude, allow me to express my gratitude to Chief Joe Huff and his team, to Canyon County for their support in this, and to our first responders with the Nampa Fire Department. Our community is well served by the professional and dedicated service of all those who wear the uniform in our community. We are so very thankful for their professionalism and their commitment to protect and serve our city.
Sure.
Well, thank you all for coming. Chief Huff has expressed kind of a synopsis of what took place today, the response from law enforcement, and as you pointed out, the Nampa Fire Department and paramedics. That call did come out. It's on the 7500 block. You all know that. Obviously, when the officers got on scene, the responding officers, the first to arrive on scene, it was a very chaotic scene, and it was fluid. A lot going on. The officers did exactly what they're trained to do, and they made entry into the house under the exigent circumstances that they are faced with. When they made contact with the suspect in this case, the suspect was armed, and the officers' shots were fired, multiple shots, by at least one officer. As Chief Huff has explained, those officers have been placed on administrative leave, and the investigation will continue through that. Unfortunately, at least one victim was succumbed to the injuries by the suspect prior to our officers' arrival. The suspect is also deceased, and we have, as the chief pointed out, 2 adult females who are hospitalized with very serious wounds. And it's my understanding that they are expected to survive at this point, and which is very thankful to all concerned in the matter. At the scene itself, there was also 3 small children, and that, of course, is very unnerving for all of you in this room, and for, of course, the chief and his staff and the paramedics, the first responders, that 3 children were present during this catastrophic event. Thankfully, those small children were not injured in this situation. We are not releasing names, obviously, for the notification of next of kin. That's a process that's ongoing. We are going to be at this scene at least through the rest of today, through tonight, and possibly a good share of tomorrow, because of the complexity of the scene and the painstaking amount of evidence that has to be gathered here. We would ask that all people stay out of that area unless you absolutely have a reason to be there if you live in the neighborhood, and contact the officers who are standing by. The officers who made contact with the suspect upon entry to the house are 6-year and 14-year veterans with the police department. As the chief has pointed out, the investigation has been turned over to the Critical Incident Task Force. The Canyon County Sheriff's Office will be leading this investigation with the help, of course, of Idaho State Police, Caldwell Police Department, Homedale Police Department, and Nampa as well, who takes a backseat, as you all know, in the Critical Incident Task Force if they are the involved officers, but there's a lot that they will be helping us with, and of course we will be giving them our full support. We do not expect to do another press conference unless something dramatically changes in the next few days. As you all know, having some experience with these situations, we're limited on what we can tell you. That's not because we don't want to, it's because of the complexity and the confidentiality of the case. We have to protect that integrity, and especially where we have so many things going on in this case. I will stand for questions. If you have questions following this, I ask you to contact my office, and we will be the lead, as I've said. So if you do have questions, if we can give you the information, we will do so. If not, please respect that this is an ongoing investigation. So with that, I will open it up to any questions. Scott?
Sheriff, so what you're saying is that 2 Nampa officers responded to the scene, shot and killed a suspect that came out of the house. You say he was armed. Was he armed with a handgun, with a knife? And were the victims you're describing, were they stabbed?
This is a complex scene. I can answer part of your questions. The officers responded and made entry into the residence, but we have victims in multiple places. And part of that, the officers were able to ascertain upon arrival. The officers did make contact inside the home with the suspect, and the suspect was armed. We are not releasing the information on the weapon at this time.
So you said earlier, I believe one of y'all said there were victims inside and outside when the officers arrived. What were the circumstances that allowed them or that propelled them inside?
Well, we obviously have eyewitness response, and people, as the chief pointed out, with the Nampa Police Department Dispatch Center, those officers are being given information, really play by play, by witnesses on scene who had called in and were helping monitor the situation as officers arrived at the scene. So the officers had some indication as to where the suspect might be, but again, very fluid situation.
Were these family members?
Not that had called in, but
no, the victims and suspect and the victims were the family members?
Prosecutor, are we releasing any information on that this time?
I don't think we're releasing
There's your, sorry, Scott. I mean, it's there was a lot of people at this house, but we're not going to release on the family information. Any other questions?
Do you know who lived? Did all of the victims live in the house, and did the suspects live?
That's still being determined. I mean, we have a pretty good idea, but again, multiple victims, and so we're not releasing information on prior to notification, next of kin, so on and so forth.
Well, when you say multiple victims, how many victims?
We have a total of 3 victims, 3 adult victims, and the suspect, who was also is deceased because of the incident.
Okay, 3 women. One of those women deceased.
That's
when
correct.
Officers arrived.
That's correct.
And the suspect, a man, shot fatally by officers.
That's correct.
Is there any idea of a motive behind this?
This is based on the information we have at this time. This is a domestic relationship, a situation where the relationship has been deteriorating for some time. And as we all know in this room, and you know that we're unfortunately very familiar with these types of cases, domestic violence is one of the most prevalent calls that our officers, any law enforcement officer, goes on in this valley, throughout our state, throughout our nation. Unfortunately, this particular deceased female, again, was in a relationship with the suspect, and it had been deteriorating for some time, ultimately culminating in today's events, which is truly a sad commentary on our society and on the situation. And I will take the opportunity with our mayor and our chief here to say that this is something that is all of our problem. This is society's problem. We are not winning that battle, so to speak. And as you know, I'm very passionate about this issue. And I think today is an exclamation point on what we're facing out there as a society, as law enforcement, our good firemen and paramedics. This is what they respond to, folks, every day. And thank God it's not this event every day, but unfortunately it can come to this. So I'm sorry I kind of took a sidebar opportunity there. This is why we have to address this issue as a society.
Sheriff,
Scott?
is there body camera video of this confrontation, this incident?
Any information like that is being held very tightly under the auspices of the prosecuting attorney's office. We will not be releasing any of that information at this time.
But Nampa officers in standard practice wear body cameras.
That
correct?
is standard practice, and we are looking at everything, and there's just certain information we are not going to give out at this time, very early on in the process at this point.
Will you be releasing the names of the officers as well?
Ultimately will be, of course, that'll be up to the chief and to the prosecuting attorney's office when those officers' names can and will be released. Okay? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
You've been watching a news conference with both Nampa Police and the Canyon County Sheriff's Office, along with the mayor of Nampa. They are continuing to take questions from reporters. You've been hearing from KBOI2's Scott Logan. To summarize, at 8 o'clock this morning, 8:06 precisely, Nampa Police got reports of a disturbance in the 7500 block of Edgebrook Drive. When they arrived on scene, they found 3 women who had been hurt. One had been hurt so badly that she died on scene. When officers entered the home, they say the suspect was shot, taken down by officers. The officers who responded, we learned, are both a 6-year veteran and a 14-year veteran of the force. Right now, Idaho State Police and the Canyon County Sheriff's Office are taking the lead on the investigation. Sheriff Donahue, as you heard, took the opportunity to mention that this was a domestic violence situation, a relationship of some sort that had been deteriorating for some time. He said, we are not winning that battle when it comes to domestic violence, and he said today is an exclamation point on what we're facing out there. You should also know that 1 in 4 women will become a victim of domestic violence in her lifetime. And we should mention that the Nampa Family Justice Center is always there for your help. We have a reporter on scene, Sarah Jacobson. She's been out there all morning. Our team coverage continues from the scene with Sarah. She joins us live right now.
Natalie, I'm here in the 7500 block of Edgebrook Drive. The investigation going on right behind me right now. It's a somber feeling here in the community overall, but I'm going to move out of the way and give you guys show you guys exactly what's going on behind me right now. Now, they mentioned in the press conference that Nampa Police was taking the helm on this. You can see them right there, just right there in your vision. Also, they have a crime lab unit. I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see what's going on. That's the crime lab unit right behind. Canyon County Crime Lab unit is right behind as well to the left. As you can see, Edgebrook Drive is blocked off, as well as the entrance to Cypress Lane and Coral Drive. Now I'm going to pan over. This is the crime scene right now. You can see little evidence markers across the area where some of the victims ran from one house to the other. And then you can also see that right now Nampa Police are hard at work right there with some surveying equipment right now. They're working on this investigation. They've been working hard all day. The Canyon County coroner is also here as well. They're just trying to gather as much information as they possibly can right now. But overall, they tell me, Nampa Police tells me that they will have this scene blocked off until late into the evening. So if you do live within the area, just come find a police officer who will let you into the home. But other than that, these areas will be blocked off for the evening, and we'll have more information as it comes forward. Reporting live in Nampa, Sarah Jacobson, KBOI 2 News.